Sure. So just some of the current events that just happened, the wildfires in Washington State, mudslides in California, wildfires in California. We talked about death in the family, automobile crashing through the front of your business. We all have insurance for that. Insurance is a very important part, but the insurance company typically is not going to call your prime vendor, your wholesaler, and say, look, don't bring my delivery tomorrow because I'm not going to be open. They're not going to make arrangements to get gasoline for that generator you have in the back. Everyone thinks, well, I've got to have a generator if the power goes out. But what if the gas stations have no power? We're going to get gasoline. If you buy gasoline and store it, after so many years, it's no good. So having someone to help you do all those things is peace of mind. Knowing that you're not going through it all by yourself. The other good thing is that the center is staffed with experts who are trained in how to do this work. They're trained in floods. They're trained in fire disasters. They're trained on how to help you. The center will be staffed completely. You can call 24 hours a day whenever that disaster hits. And one of the things I want pharmacists to understand is we're not talking about just natural disasters. If someone comes in and robs you at gunpoint, that could be a disaster. Okay? The center could be utilized to help you in that trauma time of when you're trying to recover from that incident. So we hope this center is going to develop into the national standard for pharmacists to be able to use in recovery and getting them back on their feet. We've seen in Alabama with the devastating tornadoes, we had many pharmacies that were affected by that. In Joplin, Missouri, all those pharmacies that were affected. And what has happened, the statistics show that 2 out of every 3 independent community pharmacies never open back up. So we want to try and change that statistic. So if there are 3 pharmacies that are affected, we want all 3 back in business. And a lot of times it's easier just to throw your hands up and say, God's telling me I don't need to do this anymore because he took the building away. Well, you know what? God may be telling you there's a way I can help you get that building back up even better than it was before. And I think that's what the whole center is about. When the NCPA Foundation first started this project, we've actually been doing disaster relief and recovery since 1953. And typically it started out in the 50s due to wildfires and floods and fires, basically. And what we really have focused on in the past is providing resources. At Hurricane Katrina, we gave out about $200,000 in free money to pharmacists, and just about everyone we try to give money to said give it to someone else, because that's what pharmacists do. We care for others. We don't want people taking care of us. So in a way, this center is designed so that you take care of yourself. You're having to give the information to the center, and then if you need money to rent a hotel room for one of your employees because they lost their house, there's money available for that. And the information's all on the NCPA Foundation's website. But when I first got involved with the project, the foundation was thinking about buying a portable pharmacy that could be driven from one place to the other. So then I asked several questions like, okay, where's it going to be stored? Who's going to pay the insurance on it? Who's going to keep the maintenance on it? Who's going to keep it filled with gas? Who's going to drive it from Alabama to California if it's needed in California? And we realized then that we didn't need to have a vehicle. We needed to know who has vehicles. So if you lose your pharmacy and you need a temporary housing, we're going to be able to provide that, because we're going to know who has temporary vehicles, which wholesalers have them, which state associations have them, which co-ops have them, where they're located. And if no one in your area has it, we're going to have an arrangement with a portable building company to bring a portable building in. And there are lots of things that we learned over the last couple of years during this process. So think about this. If your pharmacy is in a strip center and the strip center is destroyed, you may not be able to put a portable building on that site because it may be filled with rubble. So one of the things that we're doing as part of the planning is you need to have at least 1 or 2 alternate locations to set up temporary, building, a temporary business, maybe at the high school baseball field. or maybe at the local golf course. You get permission if there's a disaster in your town, you have permission to put a temporary building up so you can operate your pharmacy during that disaster. Because the idea is, if you're affected by that disaster, your customer is going to be affected as well. And community pharmacies are the hub of local information. Two places where everybody gets their information is the beauty shop and the pharmacy. If you go to the beauty shop, you can find out what's going on. You go to the pharmacy, you can find out what's going on. Every pharmacy's got a community bulletin board. It is where people go to learn what's going on in the community. And so it just makes sense that if the local pharmacy can get back up and running, it's going to be a huge benefit to that community, and it's going to be a good source of relief for those people in that community to know their pharmacy is going back into business.